Hey, what's going on, guys? It's John back with another video, and in today's video we're going to be starting a new series called Left-Handed Techniques. Okay, and this first video in the series, what we're going to be doing is talking about chord shells. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so when we're talking about chord shells, what I'm essentially talking about is intervals. All right, and some of you who are still in the beginner stage, or even if you're intermediate, if you're still playing octaves in your left hand, or even if it's just a single note, you're already kind of implementing a little bit of what I'm going to talk about today, especially if you're playing octaves. Right, if you're playing single notes, what I would say your next step is to graduate to octaves. What you want to be able to do is to stretch your hands out, get them able to stretch a full octave. That's going to be invaluable to you in the future if you're able to stretch this far. Some of you might be able to stretch a ninth, or you might even be able to stretch up to a tenth. Okay, but what I want you to do is just focus on your octave, right? But if you're at your octave, then this video is for you, because what we're going to do is talk about some different variations of that you can use in your left hand that will open up your vocabulary and also give you some different things to play, which we'll also go through in this video. All right. Now, what we're going to do is talk about a basic chord shell. Okay. And when we're talking about basic chord shells, we're talking about basic, major, and minor triads, right? There's a bunch of different shells. An octave is technically a shell. A shell is anything where you have two outside notes that you can put notes in between. It's very, very simple. I can have a shell and put notes in between it, right? The shell would be the two outer notes. So when I'm talking about a shell, that's what I'm talking about. So if you're looking at a C triad, C major triad, or even a C minor triad, what would be the shell? Okay, the shell is going to be the outside notes, C and G. Okay, we're not worried about what the middle note is. We're worried about what the shell is on the outside. Okay, and that's all I'm asking you to do in your left hand. So if you're playing a C major chord in your left hand, you're going to play the shell of that chord. All right, now this is a concept that you guys are going to apply. You already understand what a perfect fifth interval is. If you guys have watched my videos, if you've watched some of my music theory videos, you understand what basic intervals are. And so we're not learning anything new. We're just taking that information that we learned in those videos and now applying it to our playing, just like everything else that we do. Okay, so this is something that if you've been working on your intervals, if you've been practicing the way that you're supposed to, then this will be something that you'll be able to grab easily. Okay, if you don't practice your scales, if you don't practice your intervals, then this is going to be something that's going to kind of be an uphill battle for you, because what you want to be able to do is on any given chord be able to play those intervals, even your sharp chords, your flat chords, right? You want to be able to do that without looking at the keyboard, without thinking about it. All right, and so with this basic shape that we have right here, what I'm going to do is just move it up, open up the interval, right? So we're starting here at a perfect fifth, and what I'm going to do is open it up to a major sixth, right? And then I'm going to open this up to a major seventh. Okay, and just to show you guys that we're simply just taking concepts that we already know and reutilizing them, there's your octave, right? So if you're already playing octaves, playing these lesser intervals should be no problem for you. All right, so what do I want to do with this? We're going to play in our left hand. We're going to do a perfect fifth, a major sixth, a major seventh, back to a major sixth, and back to our perfect fifth in our left hand. All right, in our right hand, what we're going to do is we're going to go from a major chord to a sus4 chord to what we call a power chord, right? Whenever you're playing a chord shell in your right hand, we kind of like to call it a power chord, right? We get that from guitar players or fretted instruments where they just play the 1 and the 5. This is what we call a power chord, right? And we're going to move it back down to the sus4 and back to our major chord, right? So I'm going to play that all together at once so that way you can see how that sounds, right? Pay close attention to my left hand and pay close attention to my right hand. We're moving these at the same time. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and I'll do it again. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, back to the 1. Okay. This is a very, very useful move for you guys. Now, the way that I just played it is just a way so that you can kind of see how these notes move together, right? When I'm on my perfect fifth interval, I'm playing a major chord in my right hand. When I move to that major sixth interval, I'm playing a sus4 in my right hand, right? 1, 4, 5, in case you guys needed that formula. 1, 4, 5 gives you a sus4 chord, right? Very, very simple stuff. Nothing complicated. Okay. When I get to my major seventh voicing in my left hand, I'm just playing this power chord, right? This 1 and 5 in my right hand. Okay. And as you can see, what we're doing is we're outlining a C major 7 chord, right? So the other cool thing is that you don't always need to know what every single chord is that you're playing. When I first started out playing piano, that was one of the things that really, really locked me down, was because when I was seeing these guys play all these chords, I was so concentrated on trying to figure out naming every single chord that was being played, or every single note that was being played, that it had to have a chord attached to it. And the thing that you'll understand, that as your vocabulary gets a little bit more broad, and you start to understand that a lot of these musical ideas are mainly about the idea itself and not the individual parts, then you won't be so worried about, oh, well, what's that called? Well, what's this called? And what's that called? You'll just be able to flow, right? It's the same thing how if you're listening to somebody speak, you're not necessarily listening to every single letter that they're saying, every single word that they're saying. What you're doing is taking all of the information in, and you're coming up with a census of what they said, a synopsis of what they said. If somebody gave you an hour-long speech, you'll be able to give that same speech in a synopsis version. It's like in a minute, right? You'll be able to, shorten up what they said. And essentially, that's how we have to think when we're thinking about music. So even though technically each of these has a chord name, I'm not thinking about the chord names. I'm just thinking about the movement of the intervals, right? And even though I explained the right hand chords to you as chords, right? What I'm actually thinking about is just moving my middle finger, right? That's the only thing that I'm moving. That's the only thing that I'm moving. In my left hand, the only thing that I'm moving is my top note. Okay? Very, very simple. And just to prove it to you, we'll move it to a different key. Let's move it to a key like F sharp. I know a lot of you probably don't play an F sharp, right? But this is why knowing your major scale is important, right? Because we're not just playing any random notes. We're playing the notes that are in the scale. That sounds good in F sharp. Right? So you can do different moves. Okay? And if you don't want to be that groovy with it, you can just move these notes and at a random tempo, right? This is a move that I like to do when the pastor's getting ready to land the service. And let's say that you don't necessarily want to outline the song that you guys are playing. You just sit on the one chord, right? But that can be kind of boring, right? So just to have a little bit of movement in there without getting too busy, you can just intermittently throw in those different moves, right? I'll just go back down. Okay, let's go back down again. This time, let's jump to the 7. Yeah. Back down to the 6. And when I say 6 and 7, I'm talking about the intervals, not the chord. We're essentially still on the one chord. Okay. And that extra note, that pivot note that I'm using is literally just the octave, right? Because my hands are so big, when I play normal triads, my pinky tends to kind of stand out here like I'm trying to be fancy. So what I like to do is literally just rest it there on that note there, on that octave. So on my right hand, I'm technically playing an octave, right? I'm playing that shell and I've got my notes in the middle, okay? And I'm just simply moving this. That little move there, let's zoom in there for you real quick. Okay? When I'm moving up to this note, I'm kind of flicking this B at the same time. And moving back down to that 6, right? Let me do that slow for you again. Up to the 6. And then that 7 here, I'm going to do the flick, right? Back down. That's a little bit more of an advanced trick for you, but if you can grab it, grab it. Go back down to the 6 and back to the 1, right? This is something that's very simple that you can use, and it all stems from using shells in your left hand, all right? So if this video was helpful to you guys, let me know down in the comment section below. Be sure to like this video and share this video if you got something from it. There's going to be a lot more videos coming. Check the description down below. I'm going to be periodically putting different links and stuff down there for you guys. I've got some free courses that are on the way. And pretty soon you guys are going to be able to schedule some lessons with me. I'm going to start off with doing some group sessions just because my time is limited right now. But stay on the lookout for those. Keep looking in the description section for all of those updates. But until the next time, you guys take it easy. Be blessed. Get to work.